Today, we're jumping into a really pivotal moment in ancient Israel. It's a story that couldn't be more dramatic, pitting two totally different leadership styles against each other. And get this, it's between a father and his son, King Saul and Prince Jonathan. And right at the heart of their story is this question: what really is the difference between being a king and being a leader? Because as we're about to see, just having the title, well, that doesn't automatically mean you know how to lead. So on one hand, you've got King Saul. He's a guy who only trusts what's right in front of his eyes, and every decision he makes comes from a place of fear. And on the other, you've got his son, Jonathan. He puts his trust in what he can't see, and he leads with faith. These two are absolutely on a collision course. Now, to really get what's going on here, you have to look at how the story itself is told. The narrative is actually pretty clever. It uses a classic literary trick to make the contrast between these two men as sharp as it can possibly be. It uses something called a foil. So what's a foil? Well, it's basically a character who exists in a story just to highlight the qualities of another character, usually by being their complete opposite. In our story, Jonathan is the foil. He's there to show us everything King Saul should have been, but wasn't. Okay, so let's see this in action. It all kicks off with the king facing this huge test. And this isn't just about winning a single battle. The outcome is going to decide the future of his entire family line. The stakes couldn't be higher. All right, so picture this. The scene is set at a place called Gilgal. The enemy Philistine army is just massive. We're talking as numerous as the sand on the seashore numbers. And Saul's guys, they are terrified. I mean, the text says they are literally quaking with fear and starting to desert, running for the hills. And Saul has one job, just one. He has to wait 7 days for the prophet Samuel to arrive. You can just feel the pressure building, right? Day 1, he's waiting. By day 4, his army is getting smaller and smaller. Then comes the 7th and final day, and Samuel still isn't there. He's late. And that's it. Saul just snaps. He completely panics. He's watching his army just melt away before his eyes, and he makes a disastrous choice. He completely disobeys his explicit orders and performs a secret offering himself. Now, this was a big no-no. That ritual was Samuel's job, and Samuel's alone. He stepped way, way out of line. So, why was this such a huge deal? Well, his action reveals everything about what he truly believes. First, he's convinced that big armies win wars, not God. Second, he treats this holy ritual like some kind of good luck charm, thinking that just going through the motions is more important than simple, direct obedience. And third, he basically thinks that just because he's the king, his authority trumps the prophets. Wrong on all counts. And wouldn't you know it, right as he's finishing this ritual, Samuel finally shows up. Talk about bad timing. And the verdict he delivers is, absolutely crushing. He tells Saul, because you acted out of fear and not faith, you've just lost your dynasty. Your family's line on the throne ends with you. And this is where that whole foil contrast just shines. While Saul is reeling from this colossal failure, the camera, so to speak, pans right over to his son, Jonathan. And what Jonathan does next is just extraordinary. Yeah, just remember where Saul's head was at, right? He was completely obsessed with the numbers, totally paralyzed by the sight of his shrinking army, by everything he could see. But Jonathan, he had a completely different perspective. He turns to his armor-bearer and says this absolutely incredible line: "Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few." For him, the numbers literally do not matter at all. So what's his big plan? Get this. He decides that he and his armor-bearer, that's it, just 2 guys, are going to go take on an entire enemy outpost. Now, this isn't some reckless, crazy move. He's actually looking for a very specific sign from God before he does anything. And this part is just mind-blowing. It tells you everything about his faith. He basically says, okay, here's the deal. If the enemy soldiers tell us to wait down here, we'll stay put. But if they mock us and say, come on up to us, inviting us to climb a sheer cliff right into their stronghold, that's our sign. That impossible, almost suicidal-looking path, that is the sign that God is handing them the victory. Incredible. And guess what? That's exactly what happens. So you have 2 men, one incredible act of faith, and it kicks off a God-sent panic that completely shatters the enemy army. So Jonathan has just ignited this miraculous victory. Things are finally going Israel's way. But the story immediately cuts right back to his father, the king, who is about to ruin everything. And just look at the difference in why they're fighting. It says it all. Jonathan's motivation was, the Lord has given them into the hand of Israel. It's about his people. But when Saul finally joins the fight, it becomes all about him. Before I have avenged myself on my enemies, me, me, me. So, driven by this personal vendetta, Saul makes this rash, foolish oath. He puts a curse on any of his men who eat anything before the battle's over. And the result? A total disaster. His own soldiers become exhausted and can't fight effectively. Later, the starving men break religious law in their desperation for food. And Saul's focus? It shifts completely from the enemy to finding out who in his own camp broke his stupid rule. And who was the one who broke this oath? Of course, it was Jonathan, who was off winning the battle and never even heard the command. But Saul, in this shocking display of rigid, ego-driven leadership, vows to execute his own son, the very hero who won the battle in the first place. This all leads to the final critical moment of the story. The king has given his order. So now the people, the soldiers on the ground, have to decide who they're really going to follow. And it's the army itself that steps in. They literally stand up to the king. They say, "Are you kidding? Should Jonathan die, the man who brought about this great victory for us? Never." They recognize the true hero in their midst, and they refuse to let Saul's ego win. They essentially overrule their own king to save the real leader of the day. So in the end, the story gives us these two crystal clear paths of leadership. You have Saul's fear-based path, which is obsessed with control and ritual, always blames others, and is willing to sacrifice its best people for the sake of ego. Then you have Jonathan's faith-based path, which is focused on a higher purpose, takes personal initiative, and shows a willingness to be sacrificed for the people, not the other way around. Which leaves us with one final thought. In the end, Saul kept his crown. He held on to the title of king for a while longer. But on that day, when it really counted, who was the one who truly led the people?